And then we're going to start in Makrasana. So once you have all of your props, you'll lay down on your abdomen. And then I want you to stack your elbows on top of each other. And for today, once you find yourself on your abdomen with your elbows stacked on top of each other, you might walk them a little bit closer towards each other. So your shoulders and elbows are a little bit, or rather your elbows are a little bit more narrow, and walk them back towards your stomach or chest just a little bit so that you can then rest your forehead on the center of your arms. And it feels like your chest is slightly higher than, your abdomen. And then for today, let's go ahead and separate our feet mat distance apart. And the first thing that you're going to do when you find yourself in this shape is just notice how you can start to soften the body. So where do you want to let go of any tension? Maybe around the elbows, the shoulders, maybe across the chest, the abdomen. Noticing if you can let the pelvis be a little bit heavier. Notice where the legs can soften and relax. The feet can soften and relax. And after you've allowed your body to start to relax into the shape, I want you to bring your awareness next to where you can allow the breath to start to relax. So Sandy, stretch out on your stomach. Heads up, 7-up style. Yep. And then as the breath starts to relax, I want you to see if for today, we're really focusing on the abdomen. So I want you to just observe how the breath is moving in the abdomen. And there's no need to try to control or direct this. You're just allowing yourself to become aware of the breath. And you might start to notice that as you start to relax any tension in the abdomen, you're noticing that there might be tension elsewhere in the body, maybe around the jaw, maybe around the neck, the shoulders, the pelvis. And you're seeing if you can let go of that tension as well. And so as we're continuing to just stay for these first few moments in this shape, good morning, Laura. We are going to see if we can allow more and more of our awareness to just really rest on our breath. So what we're targeting here now is we're really just trying to get into what is our pranic body. Our pranic body is part of our subtle body. It's almost the mirroring of our mind and our emotions, our body and our emotions, our body and our mind. And so as we move into a practice, our physical asana, which is really about uniting the body, the breath, the mind, the heart, all of it together, we're starting on a very subtle level. So as you're here for these next few breath cycles or so, I want you to continue to see how you can elongate the breath without creating any tension, how you can create more spaciousness in the body, maybe in the low back, in the pelvis, in the ribs as you breathe. And just starting to observe how that feels for you. We've got about 4 more breath cycles here, and I want you to just continue to notice and observe how you can continue to let go, where you can continue to open and soften and fall into the expansiveness of your breath, the expansiveness of this energy that really guides and directs us in every aspect of our life. Awesome. As you're ready, gently lift your head, bring weight into your hands, and you're going to press yourself to hands and knees. And then make your way back to Balasana, child's pose. Your knees can be together or far apart, whatever works for you. And your arms might be forward or your arms might be back alongside your hips. But again, you'll feel that compression of the thighs perhaps into the chest, maybe the chest widening out into the thighs, but just allow yourself to feel into the body breathing into this feedback. So now we're in child's pose, Jenny. Yep. And then I just want you to, again, start to pay attention to the breath. So as we're here for these last 30 seconds or so, start to tone the back of your throat. Invite in a gentle constriction into the back of the throat. And you'll just invite in that Ujjayi pranayama. Still breathing into your belly, still breathing into the chest, keeping that constriction at the back of the throat. We've got about 3 more breath cycles here. Awesome. At the end of your next exhalation, you'll lift your head enough to walk your hands forward. Come forward onto hands and knees. Tuck both sets of toes under. And then start to press your pelvis up and back for downward facing dog. For this first one, keep your knees bent. For this first one, keep your knees bent. For this first one, keep your knees bent. With your knees bent, bring your awareness to the front of your body. And I want you to draw your armpit forward and down into your hand. So you feel that line of energy from your armpit going down to the heel of your hand. And then I want you to draw a line of energy from your armpit down to your ribs and up to your hips, and see if you can keep that long. And then notice if you can soften your ears in line with your arms. And then you're again going to focus on the breath. And the hands are active. You're pressing into the L shape of the hands. You're breathing as fully as you can into your belly. And you're just going to observe what happens as you breathe into the belly, as your front body stays as long and as active as your back body. And we're just going to see how this goes. We're allowing ourselves to connect into our pranic body, our subtle body, because it reminds us that we are always supported by all aspects of life. There's not so much that we have to really do beyond just being fully present with our experience as we're having it. And you've got about 3 more breath cycles here. Continue to see how you can deepen and focus on just the breath. The knees are bent. Notice if there's a crisscross happening across the back of your back as you press into one hand, yep, versus the other. Awesome. Take your last exhalation here. And then let's go ahead and inhale. Shift your shoulders over your wrists. Keep your knees slightly bent. Shift your shoulders over your wrists. Keep your knees slightly bent. Awesome. Now, once you're here in this weird version of plank, I want you to push the floor away a lot until it feels like, yep, your upper back rounds. Squeeze your happy little tuchus just a little bit so the outer hips are engaged. And as always, you're breathing. And today the breath is in the abdomen. So see if you can feel the abdomen distend. So push down towards the floor as you breathe in. See if you can feel it pull in and up as you exhale. And you're just going to pause and you're just going to breathe. And then notice the weight in your hand. Are you pressing evenly through the index fingers, the pinky fingers, the knuckles of the hands? Taking 4 more steady, deep breaths here, pressing down through the hands, breathing fully into your abdomen, lengthening your tailbone back as your crown and sternum reach forward. Yep. At the end of your next exhalation, you'll keep the knees bent. You'll push the hips up and back. Keep the front body long. So the armpit goes down to the heel of the hand. The armpit goes up to the hips. Now you might straighten your legs. You might even find that you can walk the legs back just a little bit, but you're noticing that we didn't actually do anything other than go to a plank pose, and suddenly your hamstrings might feel a little different. How is your breath? Can the breath remain steady and constant and even? And then again, check in with your hands. Notice that if you press more into the right hand, you might feel your left hip find more length. Notice if you press into your left hand, you might feel your right hip feel more length, and just explore and experience that. We've got another 4 to 5 breaths here. See if you can steady the breath. Find length in the front body and steady the breath. Nice work, guys. At the end of your next exhalation, you'll take a big breath in and then step your right foot between your hands. Once that right foot gets to the top of your space, I do encourage you to pad the back knee, and you'll lower the back knee down towards the floor. From there, keep your hands on the floor or the blocks for just a moment. Press into your right foot, press into your left knee. Once you push down into those 2 points, bring your spine up to vertical and bring both hands onto the center of your right thigh. Cool. Now for today, we're going to do something weird. I want you to imagine that your right shin bone is coming forward. Your left thigh bone is going back. Your pelvis is still coming forward. So actively push your right shin forward, your left thigh back, your pelvis slightly comes forward. Push down into your thigh to draw the shoulder blades onto your back, and then bring your awareness to your spine and allow your spine to come forward as your crown lifts. And then see if you can steady the breath here. So you're still pushing into that back knee. You're still pushing into that front foot. Your right shin is still coming forward. Your left thigh is still going back. Your spine is still coming forward. The shoulder blades are down the back, and you're breathing. And you're just breathing. And you're breathing. And the pelvis is still slightly coming forward. Yep. Take 2 more breath cycles here. At the end of your next exhalation, plant your palms. Tuck the back toes under, straighten the back leg long. Step back to plank pose. So that right foot just comes back to meet the left. You press the hands down into the floor. You lift your inner thighs up. Yep, and you lengthen your tailbone back. And again, we're focusing on breathing in our abdomen. And so now we'll notice that because our legs are in a longer position here, notice how that challenges the body in a different way. Notice how you can still press the floor away so your upper back rounds just a smidge. Yep. And then you're focusing on lengthening your tailbone back as you continue to breathe, yep, into the belly and out of the belly. You've got about 4 more steady breath cycles here. And you're just noticing and you're just breathing. Nice work, guys. Last breath cycle here. At the end of your exhalation, bend your knees, lift your hips, downward facing dog. And again, as you come back to your down dog, I want you to pay attention to what's happening in your shoulders and your back. Where's the weight in your fingertips? How's the breath working? So oftentimes we can spend a lot of time paying attention to these gross things, what's happening in the body. And it's a way for us to refine our alignment so that we can deepen our breath. But then can you use the breath to refine your alignment? So as you continue to focus on the body, can you notice what's happening in the breath? And as you're noticing what's happening in the breath, can you notice what's happening in the body? You've got 2 more breath cycles here. At the end of your next exhalation, step your left foot between your hands. Go ahead and lower that back knee to the floor, patting it if you need to. Take a moment to pause, push down into your left foot, push down into your right knee, and then bring your spine up to vertical. Hands on top of that left thigh, and then really allow your left shin bone to come forward. And at the same time, energetically pull your right thigh bone back. Allow the spine to come into your body by pushing down into your front thigh, drawing the shoulder blades down the back, and then that should lift the heart just a smidge. And then you'll just breathe. And you'll notice that as you're breathing here, we're still working in that left foot, pushing it down, finding width across the sole of that foot. There you go, to find stability. And then you're going to continue to let that left shin come forward, the right thigh bone go back, and it should allow a little bit more opening on the front of that right hip flexor as you continue to breathe, as you continue to deepen. Yep, you've got 2 more breath cycles here. At the end of your next exhalation, plant your palms and step to the top of your mat. Once you get to the top of your space, separate your feet hip distance apart, bend your knees as much as you would like, and let your hands touch the floor or the blocks beside you. Let the head be heavy. And you're going to again continue to breathe into the belly. So now with the thighs in this association, just observe and notice the depth of the breath. Notice how breathing in the belly impacts the ribs. Notice how that impacts the collarbones. Notice how that impacts your neck. You've got 3 more breath cycles here. Continue to root into the legs, root down into the feet. And as weird as it sounds, it almost feels like you lift your bum up towards the sky as everything else drops. Yeah, awesome. All right. At the end of your next exhalation, gently bend your knees. Once your knees are bent, open your arms out to the side, parallel to the floor. Cactus your arms, so you've got this weird little hockey goal pose type of thing, and then bring your spine up to vertical. That's not a goal pose, I know, Sandy. And so continue to bend deep through your knees. Squeeze your shoulder blades onto your back. I want you to draw your elbows forward slightly, your hands back slightly, so your elbows will literally feel like they wing forward. And then see if you can lift your head, yep, there you go, out of your neck. Notice if you need to shift your weight back just a bit. And you're just going to continue to breathe. Continue to breathe. Notice the movement of the breath in the abdomen, and then see if you can lift your ribs away from your hips as you descend your pelvis, to the floor, and lift your head up just a smidge. You've got 4 more steady breath cycles here, continuing to sit low in the legs, continuing to be heavy in the feet, continuing to squeeze the shoulder blades onto the back as the elbows come forward and the hands lean back. Awesome. Last complete breath cycle here. Listen very closely. Take a big breath in. As you exhale, hinge forward at your hips, hands come back down to the floor or blocks. Keep your knees bent. Once you get down there, you might start to lift your hip bones and straighten your legs and let your head fall a little bit more towards the floor for Uttanasana. And then just observe and notice what you feel and experience in this moment. And again, you're just focusing on the breath, how steady, how consistent, how smooth is the breath. The more you're able to connect with the breath, the easier this might be. And so just allow yourself to breathe. All right, take your last complete breath cycle here. Gently, you'll bend your knees. You'll plant your palms on the mat. Step your left foot back, low lunge. Step your right foot back, plank pose. And then you're going to just pause here again. And you're just noticing, can you press down through the hands? Can you lift up, through the armpits? Can you continue to breathe deeply? So we've been in plank a few times so far today, and you're just observing and you're noticing what this one feels like right here, right now. How steady is your breath? How consistent, how smooth is the breath? We're just allowing ourselves the opportunity to gently unwind things by allowing ourselves to become more aware of where things are actually wound up. So you've got about 2 to 3 more breath cycles, depending on how you're breathing. At the end of your next exhalation, go ahead and lift your hips up and back, downward facing dog. Check in once again, how are your shoulders? Yep. How is that X shape going across your back from your right shoulder to your left hip to your right shoulder? Yeah. And then how is the head? Is the head tractioning out of the neck? Yep. And just how are you breathing? Nice job, guys. Keep heaviness in your hands, especially in that L shape between the thumb and the index finger. Nice work. And just steady, deep breaths. feeling into the body, noticing what's unwinding. Awesome. Go ahead and take a big breath in. As you exhale, step your left foot forward between your hands. Pause. Step your right foot slightly to the right and forward and spin it down for warrior one. Pause here, push down into both feet. Once you've pushed down into your feet, you can start to bring your spine up to vertical. When your spine comes up to vertical, we're going to go back to those cactus arms. So your elbows are in line with your shoulders, but they come forward about an inch. Your hands go back. Same thing that we did before. So I want you to push into your left foot. I want you to push into your right foot. Your left shin is going to come forward. Your right shin thigh is going to go back. So you'll feel a nice stretch there. Now soften the shoulder blades down your back. Yep. And then bring your spine forward. And as the spine comes forward, we're not trying to jet out the ribs, but the back body is coming forward to meet the front body. Yep. And you're finding that integration between the front and the back of the body. And then from there, see where you can pull your head out of your neck and maybe lift the gaze if that helps you. Yep. And you're going to breathe. And then you're just noticing where you can soften. Maybe you need to soften around the mouth. Maybe soften around the gaze. Maybe continue to push into that left foot so that left shin can come forward. And you're just observing. You're just breathing and you're noticing the feet are still active. The breath is still active. Those shoulder blades are squeezing together on your back. All right, we have 1 more minute in this pose. Some of you might continue to stay here with your elbows bent. Some of you might start to reach your arms up alongside your ears. And again, if the arms are up, the shoulder blades are sliding down the back of the body, the spine is coming forward, the heart is lifting, and you're breathing super deeply into the belly as you're continuing to bend into that left knee, push back onto the right pinky toe. You've got 2 more steady breath cycles here. At the end of your exhalation, take a big breath in, find more length, and then exhale, plant the palms to frame the front foot, step back, downward facing dog, and pause. And you just notice. Just notice. How's the body? How's the breath? How are you? And it's interesting because, down dog is said to be our resting pose. So see how you can rest here. The body's still active, but how can you rest in this shape? Where can you deepen the breath so that the experience, the energy just flows in and it flows out? And you've got about 2 more breath cycles here. Take a big breath in. And then as you exhale, step your right foot between your hands. Pause here, step the left foot slightly to the left, spin the foot down, press down into your feet in order to bring the spine up to vertical. Yep. And then just as we did before, you can go directly back to the cactus arms to start there for the first minute. You might decide to have both arms straight up for both minutes, but you choose to do that. But we're going to push into that right foot. Yep. Push into the left foot. Draw your right shin bone as far forward as you can. Yep. Draw your left thigh bone straight back. Soften the shoulders down the back. And then bring your awareness to the back of your spine and let that come forward. And then from there, lift the head out of the neck, lift the neck out of the shoulders. The shoulder blades are squeezing onto the back. And then notice where you can lift the gaze. Yep. And then you just breathe. And whatever may be happening below the surface in your legs, you just notice that. Whatever may be happening below the surface in your mind, you just notice that. And you continue to come back to your breath. All right, for this last minute, you might straighten your arms alongside your ears. And again, you're just pausing and you're breathing and you're staying as committed to the breath, committed to the strength in your legs, Noticing where you can soften around your jaw or your eyes. Maybe soften any tension in your fingers or your toes. Awesome. Take your last 2 breath cycles here. At the end of your next exhalation, take a big breath in, and then exhale, plant your hands to frame the front foot, step to the top of your space. Once you get to the top of your space, separate your feet again, hip distance apart. I want you to notice if you can let your sit bones lift up towards the sky, let your head drop towards the floor and just breathe. Actively press down into the feet. Feel the width across the soles of your feet, like very firm, wide feet. And then again, notice the breath. How's the breath in the abdomen? Is it steady? Is it smooth? Is it deep? Nice work. All right. Go ahead and exhale here. Take a big breath in, and then exhale, bend your knees to about a 90-degree angle. Inhale, open your arms parallel to the floor out to the side. On your next exhale, push down through the feet, and then inhale, bring your spine to vertical, so chair pose. Now this time, let's turn our palms to face the sky, and you'll reach out through your fingertips until your arms come alongside your ears. Continue to sit low in your legs. It helps if your fingertips are together, and then you can reach out through all 10 fingers up, and our arms aren't touching, the arms are still far apart. And then you're seeing if you can lift your ribs up and away from your hips, to send your hips towards the floor. The spine comes forward, the shoulder blades slide down. You lift your head out of your neck out of your shoulders, and you just continue to breathe. You've got about 4 more steady breath cycles here. Where can you soften any unnecessary tension? Where can you continue to root down into the big toes and pinky toes and squeeze those outer hips? Take your last 2 breath cycles here. Listen very closely. Inhale, stand up. Pause here. Allow the spine to reassess itself or readjust itself. So you might need to just allow that tailbone to drop, the spine to unwind. Once you feel like you've gotten your length, see if you can soften any tension around your shoulders. If you can allow the hips to root down, the shoulders to just sit atop. And then at the end of your next exhale, arms open out and they just come down to your side. Soften your gaze or close your eyes and just take a moment to check in. Notice what you notice. How's the body? How's the breath? How's the mind? It's very interesting that, if we allow ourselves to really connect into our pranic field, which is just below our physical field, it gives us the ability to change things that we didn't think we could change, because it starts to tap into the level of our beliefs. And it starts to do that because it starts to connect to our breath, which shows the movement of our mind, which shows the habits of our beliefs and thought patterns. So you got about 4 more breath cycles here, and I just want you to focus on your breathing. The easiest way to change anything in our life is to change our breath. Just notice what's happening in your breath. Nice work, guys. At the end of the next exhale, you'll gently open the eyes if your eyes are closed. Bring your hands to your hips and turn to face the long edge of your mat. Now, some of you might want to block towards the back of your mat. Some of you might be completely fine without it. So if that's you, you put a block towards the back of your mat. If that's not you, no worries. And then we're going to separate our feet hip distance apart. Okay. And then let's walk our feet out so they're 3 or 4 or 5 feet apart. I doubt you're going to get to 5 feet, but you're going to make a really long distance. All right. And from here, let's turn our right toes to face the short edge of our mat. Turn our left toes in slightly. Go ahead and bend your right knee and keep your hands on your hip for a moment. So bending into that right knee, pressing down onto the knife edge of your left foot. So your right shin is going to go forward. Your left thigh is going to go straight back. Now I want you to tip at your pelvis and lower that right forearm maybe to the right thigh, maybe lower the right hand to the block or a floor. And then from here, we're going to go ahead and extend our left hand back and then sweep your left arm alongside your ears. And so again, that right shin bone is going forward. The left thigh bone is going back. As best as you can, you're rotating your right ribs under, your left ribs on top. Yep, and you're breathing into your abdomen. Laura, can you take a slightly longer stance in your legs? Yeah. There you go. And you're just going to pause and you're going to breathe. And you're just going to pause and you're going to breathe. And I want you to notice how you can still continue to find length on that right side. So we don't want to collapse in our right shoulder armpit area. Yep. And we want to see if we can continue to breathe into the abdomen and steady our feet. So our feet are pushing down in our way. Our right shin bone is going forward. Our left thigh bone is going back. Yep. And the rotation's happening across the abdomen, across the belly. You've got about 4 more steady breaths here, and you're just observing. You're just breathing into the belly, noticing if there are fidgets and seeing if you can stay still. You guys are doing great. Last 2 breath cycles. At the end of your next exhalation, you'll inhale and come back up to warrior 2. As you exhale, go ahead and straighten that front leg. Turn both feet parallel to the short edges of your mat and just pause for a moment. Notice what you notice here. And then we'll start to set ourselves up for the other side. So your left toes will turn towards the left short edge of your mat. Your right toes will turn towards the short edge of your mat. Bring your hands to your hips if you have not already. And then start to bend into your left knee. Really push down into your left foot. Really push down into your right foot. Slide your left shin bone forward. It really goes forward. And then slide your right thigh back. It really pulls back. So you feel this in your pelvis. And then you're going to start to tip at your pelvis and then bring maybe that left forearm to the left thigh, maybe the left hand to a block or the floor. Nice. And then you'll start to reach the right hand back, energize the hand, and then sweep the arm up and over your head. Yep. And so we're really focusing on finding the feet. So you're pushing down into your front foot a lot. You're pushing into your back foot a lot. That front shin bone, so the left shin bone is really coming forward, and that right thigh is really going back. And then from there, see if you can find more length on your left underside so the left ribs can come forward and under, the right ribs can come up. And then you just breathe into your belly. You notice if you can soften any tension in your throat and in your neck. Yep. And you're just pausing and you're breathing. And the only thing that's really that important is what's happening in your breath. How full, how steady, how consistent is your breath? How full, how steady, how consistent is your breath? And that's not an invitation to necessarily force it to be other than it is. It's more of an invitation to notice what it is, and then notice that by simply observing however the breath is, it will naturally start to change. Probably a good metaphor in life. You know, Carl Jung is famous for saying, I first had to accept myself and then I started to change. And so we're just doing that as well. Not Carl Jung, Carl Rogers, wrong psychologist, man. All right, you got 2 more breath cycles here. On your next in-breath, inhale and return to Virabhadrasana 2, Warrior 2. As you exhale, straighten that front leg long. Turn both legs parallel to the short edge of your mat. Pause here. Bring your hands to your bum. Keep your arms straight as best as you can. Inhale, lift your spine. And then you're going to start to slide your hands down your outer legs until you fold all the way in, keeping the spine long. And the arms are kind of just there to remind you to keep the spine long. And then once you feel like you are down there, you might continue to hold on to your ankles and just let your head descend. You might release your hands underneath your shoulders to the blocks or the floor beneath you. Yep. And then once we're down there, again, we're going to press onto the outer edges of our feet. I want you to think of having your shin bones come forward, your inner thighs rolling back, your hips lifting high, and your head just pulls out of your neck and descends down towards the floor. Yeah. And then you just pause, and you just breathe, and you just pause, and you just breathe. And you just notice, how's the body? How's the breath? Specifically, are you still breathing into your abdomen? Do you still feel and sense that movement there? And notice what effects that may be having on your mind just by really focusing on movement of breath in the abdomen. Nice job, guys. Continue to breathe. Great. From here, if your hands are not underneath your shoulders, please bring your hands underneath your shoulders. Inhale, lift your spine halfway up. Go ahead and bend your knees just a bit. Some of you will just open your arms out to the side, parallel-ish to the floor. Some of you will bring your hands to your hips. From here, you're going to keep a slight bend in your knee, and I want you to pull your spine forward. Yep. Pull your neck out of your shoulders. Yep. Pull your head out of your neck. Yeah. And then from here, let's go ahead and root down through the feet and come all the way up to stand. Once you're vertical, you can lower the arms. Just stand tall, chest lifts. If you're dizzy at all, chin drops towards your sternum. You just pause and you breathe. Great. From here, let's go ahead and walk our feet together. And then come to face the top of your space, feet hip distance apart. If you've got a block in your mat, you might want to move it. Great. Standing at the top of your space, feet hip distance apart. Go ahead and reach your arms up and overhead, Urdhva Hastasana. Pause here. Push down through your feet. Barbara, step your left foot back just a little bit. There you go. And then push down through both feet, reach up through both arms, lengthen the tailbone down, energize your arms so it feels like your fingers are reaching up and then your elbows are lifting up and then your shoulders are lifting up. And then you're finding that your rib cage is reaching up, but the pelvis is reaching down and the legs are reaching down and the feet are reaching down. Keeping this length, exhale, hinge at your hips, bring your hands all the way to the floor. Nice job. Great. Pause here. Bend the knees as much as you need to and just continue to breathe. Still in the abdomen, still in the abdomen, still breathing in the abdomen. And at this point, I want you to just check in and observe how you're feeling. You've done a lot of forward folds. Energetically, they're supposed to be very introspective poses, supposed to be very quieting poses. So just observe and notice what you're noticing. For some of us, introspection feels great. For some of us, introspection does not feel so great. So you just notice what you notice. Very gently, you'll bend your knees, plant your palms, step your right foot long and back, low lunge. Step your left foot back, plank pose. And again, this is our last one here. And so I want you to just really observe the breath here, really observe how you are here. I find that so many aspects of life, if I can remind myself to just breathe with them, not through them, not over them, not trying to change them in any ways, but if I can just breathe with them, they naturally start to change. And maybe they don't change, but my experience of it changes, and that makes all the difference. And so you're just going to pause and you're going to breathe, and you're going to notice what you notice by really deepening your breath. Do you need to press more into your left hand? Do you need to press more into your right hand? Do you feel that there has to be more engagement in the abdomen? Awesome. Here's your last breath cycle here. At the end of your next exhalation, you'll inhale, you'll shift your weight forward and slower than you want to, lower in one piece, keeping your head up as long as you can so the head doesn't dip. And then once you come onto your abdomen, you can just go ahead and bring your hands or leave your hands exactly as they are. Let your forehead rest onto the mat for a moment. Okay, and then we'll separate our feet so they're about hip distance apart. Press down into the tops of your toenails. Lengthen through your legs. Lengthen your tailbone back. Draw your shoulder blades onto your back body and lift your head a couple millimeters from the floor. Listen closely. We're going to take Cobra, but I want you to allow your breath to expand this shape. So you're going to imagine that your spine is coming forward into the floor. Your sternum is reaching forward towards the top of your space. Your tailbone is reaching back. And then you just press into the hands as much as you need to facilitate the spine coming forward, the shoulder blades coming down the back, the legs being active. So those shins are pressing forward into the floor, but the thighs are pulling back so that the tailbone can reach back. And you're actively hugging the shoulder blades onto the back. You're actively reaching the sternum forward, the tailbone back. You've got 3 more breath cycles here, and you're just allowing the breath to expand your Cobra pose. Awesome sauce. At the end of your next exhalation, you'll gently release down. You'll bring an ear to the mat and you'll pause. You're just going to pause. Relax the arms however you want. You're just going to pause and you're just going to breathe and you're going to notice what you noticed. How's the body in the abdomen, or rather, how's the breath in the abdomen in this moment? Can you feel it pressing into the floor? Can you feel that creating length and width across the low back? All right, we're going to try that again. Bring your forehead back to the mat. Bring your hands so your thumbs are in line with your nipples. Spread wide through your hands. Start to activate the legs first. So tops of the feet press into the floor. Your shins are active and drawing down. Your thigh bones are active and pulling up. Your tailbone is active and reaching back. And then your shoulder blades come together on your back and they slide down your back. Your heart reaches forward. Your head lifts up. And again, you're breathing into this. So you might find that if you really allow the spine to come forward, you can draw more weight into the hands and draw your spine a little bit higher up, lifting more of your chest away from the floor. You might find this creates a lot of work in your arms, but that's okay. And you're just breathing through it. You're pulling your head out of your neck. Yep, your neck out of your shoulders. The legs are active, the feet are active. So shin bones press down, tops of the feet push down, inner thigh bones lift up, thigh bones draw back. You've got about 5 more breath cycles here. So really allow the shoulder blades to come onto the back to reach the heart forward to lift as high as you want. Yeah, nice, Barbara. And then as you're ready, you'll exhale and lower down. Bring the other ear to the mat. Relax the arms however you'd like. And you just pause and you'll just breathe. Awesome sauce. All right. We're going to transition out of this. Bring your hands alongside your chest or your ribs. Press to hands and knees with as much control as you can. Walk your knees, shins, and ankles together and sit back on top of your feet for a moment. Sit tall and close your eyes. And I want you to just find that action. So we were really focusing on the shoulder blades coming down the back, the spine coming forward to meet the front of your body, and finding that expansion from almost like your armpit, chest region up towards your face. Okay, and you're just going to pause and you're just going to breathe here and you're just going to notice how this feels. Sitting very tall through the vertebra, breathing very deeply into the abdomen. Okay, for this next one, some of you will stay exactly as you are. Some of you will bring your hands alongside your hips next to your feet. Okay, from there, you're going to draw the shoulder blades onto the back, just as we did before. You're going to push your shin bones down. You're going to push your fingertips down. You're going to draw your thighs forward this time in order to lift yourself into a modified camel pose. So the shins are pushing down, the pelvis is slightly coming forward, and you're just pausing and you're breathing, and you're pausing and you're breathing. Yep. And you're just noticing what you notice here. It's just a gentle opening for the front of the thighs, front of the chest, front of the heart space. And you're just pausing and you're breathing and you're feeling that there's a lot of activation that has to happen in your back body. And you've got about 3 more breath cycles here. And the neck is long, so the head is still coming up out of the throat. The end of your next exhalation, you'll gently lower your pelvis back down, come to sit on top of your heels, close the eyes, notice what you notice. You might straighten the arms and push the arms into the thighs to find more lift through the vertebra if that helps you find length. But you're just going to see how long you can make your vertebra, how steady and deep you can make your breath. Got about 4 more steady breaths. And just notice. How is the breath? How is the breath? Kind of like our breath is like our plants. It tells us how we're doing. It doesn't scream at us loudly like children or animals or other people that we're involved with. But it's just as important to pay attention to. All right. Let's go ahead and we're going to come forward onto forearms and knees. You can either take that number 11 shape if you'd like. You can draw your hands into that prayer figure, but make sure your elbows are underneath your shoulders. And then I want you to round through your spine as much as you can, little Halloween cats. Curl both sets of toes under. Keep pushing down through your forearms, shifting your shoulders over your elbows, and then lift your hips over your shoulders. Dolphin pose. And so we want to come forward so our shoulders are over our elbows, our hips are over our shoulders. Your head is pulling out of your neck is pulling out of your shoulders are pushing down. Your hips are lifting up. If your knees need to be slightly bent, they're slightly bent, but you're pausing and you're breathing. And so all the stuff we were working on earlier was trying to strengthen our serratus, and hopefully they're helping us here as we're in dolphin. And you've got 5 more breath cycles here. You can choose to stay those 5 breath cycles or come out whenever you'd like, but you're just going to pause and you're going to breathe and you're going to notice what you notice. Pause and breathe. Notice what you notice. And at the end of your 5th exhalation, your knees will come down to the mat. You'll come back to child's pose wherever you want your arms. They might be forward in a diamond shape, so the elbows are bent and the fingers touch. The arms might be back alongside your hips. The hands might be straight. They might be stacked underneath, or the arms might be straight. The hands might be stacked underneath your forehead. But you're just going to take a moment to pause and you're going to take a moment to breathe. And you just check in. How is your breath? How often do we really give ourselves permission to ask that part of ourselves that knows beyond all things what we need? Beyond all things, what is our actual inner guidance? How often do we take the opportunity to check in with it? You know, it whispers to us. It doesn't shout. It doesn't scream. It doesn't have a temper tantrum, generally. And so how do we just allow ourselves to listen into it, to create the space for it to speak up, to be heard, so it doesn't have to have that temper tantrum, because when it does, it's generally not at a good point. All right, we're going to start to come out of this. So release your hands alongside your hips, press down into the floor and bring your spine up to vertical. And then go ahead and bring one butt cheek to the floor and swing your legs around in front of you. And at this point, some of you may want to sit on that blanket, some of you may not, but you're going to extend both legs long in front of you for Dandasana staff pose. And I want you to separate your feet so they're about hip distance apart. Pull your toes back up towards your kneecaps. And then we're just going to sit in Dandasana. This isn't the most exciting pose on the face of the planet, but you're going to see if you can sit there. If you can allow the shoulder blades to slide down the back, the spine to come forward, your head to lift out of your neck to lift out of your shoulders. You're just going to pause and you're just going to breathe. Great. And then from here, I want you to notice internally which one of these will feel better to you. And you'll know what feels better to you because you'll feel like a or don't want to do that. So whichever one gives you an you're going to do that. Some of you are just going to take a simple twist to your left. So your right hand will come outside of your left knee. Your left hand will come back behind you. Some of you will bend that same knee and twist. So whichever one feels better to you, you're going to take a twist to your left. And you're going to lift up through the spine. You're going to continue to reach out through whichever leg or legs are straight. And you're going to rotate through the abdomen. And then you're going to notice again, can you soften the shoulders away from the ears? Can you allow the spine to come forward and into that twist? Can you lift your head out of your neck out of your shoulders? And you're just pausing and you're just breathing and you're observing how that's moving. And you've got about 4 more breath cycles here. And then at the end of your next exhalation, maybe that was 4, maybe that was not. You'll gently inhale and unwind. You'll extend both legs long. You'll sit tall. And then for this one, we're just going to reach our arms alongside our ears. Flex through the feet. Reach out through the hands. Lift up through the heart and continue to breathe. And then you might close the eyes. You might soften any tension around your mouth. You might notice what it feels like to really have your arms in this extended position. Turns out most of us don't actually spend enough time with our arms in this overhead position, and so it can feel very vulnerable. I think in part because it reminds us of being children. And so just notice what you notice in the breath. And then at the end of your next exhalation, you're going to twist to the right. So that left hand will maybe come to the outside edge of that right knee. The right hand will come behind you. You might bend that right knee and draw the foot closer to the pelvis, and then continue to rotate your rib cage towards the right. And you're just continuing. Again, find length through the spine. Yep, soften the shoulder blades down the back. Allow your spine to come forward into the twist. And then notice how you can lift your head out of your neck out of your shoulders. Notice where you can soften any tension in your face, tension in the throat, tension in the breath or in the abdomen. Keep that left foot active. Yep. Soften the eyes. Yep. And then as you're ready, we've just got about 4 more steady breaths here. We're going to actually take those 4 steady breaths. At the end of your next exhale, you'll gently inhale and unwind. Come back through center. Extend both legs long. Bring your hands alongside your hips. And then we're going to make sure our fingers are pointing forward towards our toes. You're going to bend your elbows a little bit to squeeze your elbows towards each other. Draw the shoulder blades onto your back. Some of you will then start to walk your feet in, so your feet are hip distance apart. Some of you will then just push your bum up and lift your pelvis forward towards your feet. And some of you will stay right there, hanging out, feeling that stretch across the front of the chest. Some of you will lift your pelvis up. And if your pelvis does come away from the floor, you're pushing down through the L shape of your hands. You're hugging the shoulder blades together on your back. You're probably still going to be looking forward to your knees. Your shin bones are sliding forward. You're feeling the softness come across the top of the groin. So it feels like the tops of the thighs are pulling down towards the floor. And you're hugging those shoulder blades onto the back. This one's a little bit more intense. So we're going to just take 5 more breaths there. And at the end of your 5th exhalation, you'll simply lower the pelvis back down, and you'll come to sit tall in the spine. And you're just pausing and you're breathing, and you're pausing and you're breathing, and you're pausing and you're breathing. And once your pelvis comes down, you sit tall, your legs are long in front of you, and just soften and close the gaze. Okay. This is our last thing. Keep your legs long, reach your arms forward. Some of you might need to walk forward towards the top of your space. And then slower than you want to, you're going to slowly lower all the way back down onto your back. Slower than you want to, lower all the way back down onto your back. Feet reach forward, slower than you want to, tailbone reaches forward, you lower all the way down to your back. Slower than you want to, you lower all the way down back to your back. Slower than you want to, you lower all the way down back to your back. And once you finally get there, you take a moment to just relax. Some of you may keep your legs straight. Some of you may bend your knees and take constructive rest. But you're going to just take a moment to pause, and then we'll all go ahead and bring a hand to our heart and a hand to our belly. And I want you to feel the weight of the hands into the chest and into the abdomen. Then notice how you can breathe into those 2 points. Okay, and as you continue to just let the hands rest into the chest and rest into the abdomen, and as you continue to feel their weight, and then as you continue to breathe, you might notice a bit of a relationship between the two. That the breath can fill the belly, the breath can fill the chest and lift the hands. And then the hands can fall into the belly, the hands can fall into the chest to release the breath. And you'll just take 3 more breath cycles like that, really experiencing the assistance of gravity in this shape. Now, at this point, I would like you to ask your inner self what you might need to complete. Some of you might be straight up ready to take Supta Baddha Konasana, Happy Baby, or Shavasana. Some of you might feel like you need 1 or 2 other things to continue to unwind so that you really can allow yourself to rest. And so you're taking a moment to check in and then do that thing that allows you to rest. And each one of us may choose something completely different, and that's completely okay. For it turns out that when we connect to the deeper parts of ourselves, we might choose things that externally might look different from what somebody else is doing. But internally, we're all trying to do the same thing, I think. I think we're all trying to find a greater sense of meaning and purpose and expression and connection. We're each trying to find how life has a sense of, I don't know, excitement and ease and joy. And it might look different for each and every one of us, but I do think we're all striving for that same thing. And so as you're doing whatever the heck you're doing right now, you're starting to create the space so that not only you can do that for you, but you can start to create that as an invitation, a modeling for others to do the same, in whatever form that may look like for them. So we've got about another minute or so. So if you did something asymmetrical, please go ahead and try the other side. And then once you feel complete for this present moment, whatever that might look like for you, you'll make your way into your final resting pose. So some of you might want to do Supta Baddha Konasana. Some of you might want to do Shavasana. Some of you might want legs up the wall, or even that heart bench lung thing feels pretty nice. And you'll just allow yourself to settle into what shape not only allows you to feel open, but allows you to feel super duper supported. It's great to say we should all be open, but it seems like most of us feel far more open in life when we really feel supported. When it feels like, failure is not something that is an option, or if it is, it's safe because there's something to catch, to uplift, to nurture. Yeah, nice job, guys. Okay, and then once you found yourself into your final shape, we're gonna end the way we started. So the first thing I want you to do is really figure out how to make your body more comfortable. So where do you need to relax a little bit more. Maybe that requires a bit of fidgeting to find a bit more comfort. Allow yourself to do that so it feels like your right side and your left side feel equally or as best as they can relaxed. Yeah. Once you feel complete with whatever little movements bring a little bit more symmetry and ease into the body, I want you to next then bring your awareness to the muscles of the body and see if you can soften any unnecessary activity in, starting with the big muscles generally helps. So noticing the legs and the glutes, the abdomen, if there's any unnecessary tension there, shoulders, the shins, fingers, and the toes. And then we'll bring our awareness back up to our abdomen. And again, there's no need to change it. I just want you to observe it. And you're just going to keep your awareness on the abdomen, noticing what happens as your body breathes in and noticing what happens as your body breathes out. Whenever you notice that your mind wanders, not to worry, just bring your awareness back to your abdomen, back to the movement of the breath in the abdomen. And you'll continue to be here on your own for a couple more minutes, and I'll let you know when it's time to come out. Return your awareness to your breath. As you come back to your breath, just take a moment to check in. If there's any part of you longing to linger in this shape, by all means, please stay here as long as you'd like. When you are ready to move on, you'll allow the breath to invite in whatever movement feels good to you. It might be big, it might be small, but you'll allow the breath to navigate that. And then very gently, you'll start to make your way to one of your sides. You'll pause there for a few breath cycles. And then gently you'll roll your chest more towards the floor. Press into your top hand. Draw your spine up to vertical. And then I encourage you to take the opportunity to sit on something, whether it's a block or a blanket or a pillow, something. Yeah. When you feel established, however you'd like to sit, you might take the opportunity to remove any flesh from underneath your sit bones. And then we're going to focus on really rooting down through the pelvis, softening the shoulder blades down the back, allowing the spine to come forward to meet the front body, keeping the gaze maybe closed or inward, and then lifting or finding space from the head coming out of the neck coming out of the throat. And you'll just complete your practice here by just observing how the breath feels now. We spend a lot of time doing asana so that we really can align the spine, because if the spine is aligned, it allows the breath to flow more freely. When the breath flows more freely, we can think more clearly. We have a deeper connection to our heart space, to our gut space, and to the knowledge and information that lives there. And so as you're here for these last few moments by yourself with your breath, I want you to just see how full, how deep, how easy of a breath you can take. Noticing where you might need to soften to allow that deeper breath to come. We use our alignment to refine our breath, but our breath always refines our alignment, both literally and metaphorically. So we'll go ahead and complete our practice today with a collective breath, followed by a collective Om. Gently draw the hands to heart center. Press the palms into each other. Receive the weight of your thumbs into your sternum and lift your heart towards your hands. Soften the chin just slightly towards your throat, and then exhale all the breath from your mouth. Take a big breath in. Audible breath out. Inhale for Om. Join if you'd like. To that light, to that breath, to that sound, we bow. Namaste.